Hey there. This weekend marks World AIDS Day, and just this week we got some what I would consider extremely troubling news, perhaps surprising as well. Listen to this closely. More than a quarter of all new HIV infections in this country are in 13 to 24-year-olds, and most of those young people don't even know that they're infected. Now, as you know, there's always been secrecy around HIV/AIDS, but it also brings up a tough issue. More than half the United States have laws that make it a crime for people with HIV to not disclose it when they have sex. Now, some say that's only fair, but others say making this a crime, well, that just scares people and keeps them from getting tested or seeking care. 4 years ago, Nick Rhoades, an HIV-positive 34-year-old living in Iowa, met a younger man. They hit it off and had sex.
My viral load was undetectable. I wore a condom. I did everything I could to protect him and myself.
What Rhoades didn't do was tell his friend about having HIV. And when the friend found out later, he sought treatment at a local hospital, and a hospital employee called the police. Rhoades was arrested, charged with criminal transmission of HIV, and after pleading guilty on the advice of his lawyer, he was sentenced to 25 years in prison.
I served over a year locked up, some of it in maximum security and some of it in solitary confinement, and I still have to register as a sex offender for the rest of my life.
Schoettes, an attorney for Lambda Legal, is Rhoades' new lawyer. He's asking the Iowa Supreme Court to overturn Rhoades' conviction.
This case in particular was compelling. It really was a good example of the ways in which these laws are misused by the justice system to punish people in very severe ways for things that should not even be crimes.
About 1,000 miles away in Louisiana, a similar case. Robert Suttle says his partner knew Suttle had HIV, but after a messy breakup, his ex went to the police. Suttle was charged with intentionally exposing the man to the AIDS virus.
I was arrested at work, and I was booked.
To avoid a possible 10-year sentence, Suttle entered a plea, and he spent 6 months in jail. Under the picture on his driver's license in bold red capital letters, it says sex offender. He has to carry that tag for 15 years.
There are a lot of good people in the world that are HIV positive, but that doesn't mean that they're criminals, doesn't mean that they have malicious intent to hurt anybody. They're just trying to deal and cope with having this disease, and yet there's these laws that make us look like we're criminals.
At least 34 states and 2 U.S. territories have laws that criminalize activities of people with HIV. Not disclosing your status to a sexual partner, that can land you in jail. So can spitting on someone or biting them if you have the disease. Often it doesn't matter if you actually transmit the virus. In fact, the man who slept with Rhoades never got HIV.
Jail time is not warranted in these cases.
Last year, Congresswoman Barbara Lee introduced legislation to get rid of these state laws.
Many offenses receive a lesser sentence than the transmission of HIV. And these laws, again, they're archaic, they're wrong, they're unjust, and they need to be looked at and taken off of the books.
Prosecutor Scott Burns agrees the laws need updating, but he also says repeal would be a mistake.
Any time that someone knows they have HIV or AIDS, does not disclose that to the other party, I think is wrong. I think there should be a sanction. I just don't think you do that in America. And I think most prosecutors would agree with me.
Rhoades and Suttle now work for the Zero Project. It's a group that fights stigma and discrimination, trying to make the case that what happened to them should never happen to others.
We cannot sit and ignore the fact that this is happening.
I have to fight for this, and I think there are a lot of other people that are fighting as well.
Now, I should say the accuser in Nick's case did not want to talk to us, and the identity of Robert's accuser is sealed as well by court order.